Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight on Gravitas is on the Russia-Ukraine war. We get you the latest from the battlefield and get you the bigger picture. We also tell you more about how US President Donald Trump has paused key weapons shipments to Kiev, saying that the decision has been made to put America's interests first. That's coming up in just a bit, and here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We get to the harrowing story of an aircraft plunging a staggering 26,000 feet in just 10 minutes. Imagine the scare. What really happened and what led to this mid-air scare? We get the complete story. The Dalai Lama has made a historic announcement. He says he will be reincarnated and only his trust will choose his successor, leaving Beijing angry. We tell you more, all this and more coming up. Russia has intensified its military campaign across southern and eastern Ukraine, with fresh attacks damaging hospitals, homes, key infrastructure. These latest attacks come as Moscow claims total control of Luhansk region, and now all eyes are on Odesa, a critical coastal city that could be next. In fact, Russian artillery fire struck Kherson, hitting a hospital and injuring at least 8 people. Early morning, Russian drone and artillery strikes followed, targeting Kherson again and nearby Antonivka. 4 civilians were injured in those incidents, according to Ukrainian officials. Further northeast, Kharkiv was under a wave of drone strikes overnight. At least 1 person was killed, 4 injured in the region. Explosions reportedly damaged residential buildings and other civilian infrastructure, and fires erupted across multiple sites. Ukraine's local emergency services published video footage showing firefighters extinguishing flames at the sites. In Kharkiv's Kupiansk district, 2 agricultural sites caught fire after reportedly being hit by Russian drones. At least 3 people were injured there. In Dnipropetrovsk, drones damaged a private business and injured 1 woman, while in the Nikopol district, Russian shelling and drones damaged houses, apartment buildings, power lines, injuring at least 4 people. In the south, Russian drones reportedly targeted key port and tourism facilities in the Odesa region. Now, these strikes come just as the United States paused some shipments of air defense missiles and precision-guided munitions to Ukraine, citing concerns about shrinking American stockpiles. And at the same time, Russia has cemented its control over the entire Luhansk region, marking the first time since the 2014 annexation of Crimea that an entire Ukrainian province has fallen under full Russian control. Spanning over 26,000 square kilometers, Luhansk was once part of the Russian Empire, in fact, before becoming part of Soviet Ukraine in 1922. And now it has returned to Russia as Moscow claims the region as part of its territory and under its nuclear umbrella. Russian President Vladimir Putin in 2022 said that Luhansk, along with Ukraine's Donetsk, Kherson, Zaporizhia, would be absorbed into Russia. And reports say Moscow presently controls nearly 19% of Ukrainian territory, and with Luhansk fully under control, Russian forces appear to be shifting focus further south towards Odesa. In fact, according to a Financial Times report citing a senior official, Russia's central goal is to capture Odesa and cut Ukraine off from the Black Sea entirely. Such a move could have major consequences, especially for Kiev. Odesa is Ukraine's third largest city and a historic trade hub. If Russia captures it, Ukraine would reportedly lose its primary gateway to global markets, becoming effectively landlocked. That's how crucial it is. Before the war broke out in February 2022, ports in Odesa Oblast reportedly handled over 70% of Ukraine's exports. Their closure or capture would basically cripple Ukraine's economy and increase its dependence on land routes through neighboring countries. And Odesa region is not just vital for its ports, it's also a key junction for rail and road networks leading to Romania and Moldova, also known as the Pearl by the Sea. Odesa was once ranked as the fourth largest city in the Russian Empire. So as Russia reinforces its hold on the east, Odesa may soon become the next major battlefront. From Luhansk to Odesa, the battlefield in the Russia-Ukraine war continues to rage. America, meanwhile, is pulling the plug. US President Donald Trump has ordered to stop some key weapons shipments to Ukraine. Among the halted military aid, Patriot missile defense systems. The White House saying that the weapon supply has been halted to put America's interests first. And this comes amidst concerns in the Pentagon over the dwindling supply of US military stockpiles. And this comes at a moment, by the way, when Ukraine needs them the most. And in the past few weeks, Russia has increased the intensity of its attacks on the ground as well. Our next report taking a closer look at what things are looking like.
The skies over Ukraine, already scarred by relentless Russian assault, now loom even darker. A lifeline once promised and relied upon has been abruptly severed. In a staggering blow to Kyiv's defense capabilities, the Trump administration has announced a halt to shipments of vital weaponry. Most critically, the advanced Patriot missile defense systems that have been Ukraine's shield against Moscow's brutal aerial assaults. These are the latest images showing the carnage in Ukraine. Kharkiv is the latest to bear the brunt of Moscow's fury. The northeastern city was struck by a swarm of deadly drones. In eastern Ukraine, Donetsk has been under relentless missile attacks. These burned down shops and damaged buildings show the ferocity of the attacks.
The shop came under enemy attack. It all happened during the night. We found out from social media that our trade site was on fire. We arrived at the scene at midnight. It was still burning. Everything was filled with smoke.
At such a critical moment, the decision to halt weapon shipments by US leaves Ukraine in a precarious position.
We really need air defense so that people in peaceful cities or near the front line know that at least there is some protection. If this does not happen, it will be very scary, and even scarier, and even more painful, and even more civilians will suffer.
Recently, there have been many drone attacks on Ukraine with many hits, so we need this system, air defense systems. Mobile fire brigades will not be able to completely shoot down all enemy targets. There are too many of them, so it's a pity that this is happening.
It's not just Patriots. Reports reveal precision artillery and Hellfire missiles are among the items being held back. These weapons were previously promised to Ukraine under the Biden administration. The curtailment of military aid signals a clear shift in the priorities of US President Donald Trump, who has pressed for Russia and Ukraine to speed up stalled peace talks. The question now looms large: will Europe be able to fill the void, or will Ukraine be forced to face the full might of Russia's assault with dwindling resources? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And dramatic visuals have emerged of North Korea's Kim Jong-un laying the North Korean national flag over coffins in what appears to be a tribute to the country's soldiers killed fighting for Russia in Ukraine. As Pyongyang and Moscow mark 1 year since signing a major military pact at a gala performance held in Pyongyang, North Korean and Russian artists performed before a large audience. On a massive screen, photos showed the North Korean leader standing beside coffins, covering each with the North Korean flag. Some attendees in the audience could be seen wiping away their tears, while Kim Jong-un could also be seen visibly moved. And at the gala performance, images of North Korean and Russian soldiers waving their respective national flags with patriotic slogans written in Korean were also displayed. North Korea's state television aired footage of the event that also showed the Russian culture minister in attendance. She led a delegation to mark the first anniversary of the strategic partnership signed by Kim Jong-un and the Russian president in June last year, which includes a mutual defense pact. And according to reports based on Ukrainian intelligence assessments, North Korea is set to triple the number of its troops fighting for Russia along the front lines with Ukraine, sending as many as 30,000 soldiers to assist Moscow. That would significantly expand its previous deployment, which reportedly included 11,000 soldiers sent in November to help repel Ukrainian forces in the Kursk region. And reports estimate that around 4,000 of those North Korean troops were either killed or injured since their deployment. A terrifying mid-air drama unfolded aboard a Japan Airlines Boeing 737, plunging passengers into a nightmare of plummeting altitude and deploying oxygen masks. This harrowing incident, where the aircraft dropped a staggering 26,000 feet in just 10 minutes, has sent a fresh wave of shock through the aviation industry and beyond. Take a look.
In a terrifying mid-air scare that could have ended in disaster, a Japan Airlines flight from Shanghai to Tokyo nosedived nearly 26,000 feet after sudden cabin pressurization failure, prompting an emergency landing in Osaka. What began as a calm, uneventful journey aboard flight JL8696 swiftly spiraled into sheer horror. Without warning, alarms blared inside the cockpit as the Boeing 737 detected an abnormality in the pressurization system. This is the moment when panic sets in. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. Some scribbled final messages, while one reportedly began drafting a will mid-air. The fear is the kind that haunts long after touchdown. The aircraft began a rapid, stomach-lurching descent, shedding nearly 26,000 feet in under 10 minutes, stabilizing just below 10,500 feet. from above 36,000 feet to 10,500 feet in just 10 minutes. To grasp the scale of this terrifying plunge, consider this. The plane dropped a vertical distance equivalent to nearly the entire height of Mount Everest, the world's tallest peak. The Japanese Transport Ministry has launched a full-scale investigation into the technical fault. While no injuries have been reported, the psychological toll is undeniable. The flight operated under a code share between Japan Airlines and its low-cost unit, Spring Airlines Japan. It took off from Shanghai but was forced to abandon its Tokyo route and rerouted to Kansai International Airport in Osaka, where it landed safely. This latest scare intensifies growing concern over Boeing, dogged by a string of fatal crashes and mechanical issues globally. Aviation safety is yet again under a harsh spotlight. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Shifting focus for now, the Dalai Lama has made a historic announcement. He says he will be reincarnated and only his trust will choose his successor. And China is furious. Amid all this, there are also growing questions about the missing Panchen Lama. He hasn't been seen in the last 30 years. Where is he? The United States and India are watching closely. The Dalai Lama's announcement could set the stage for a new spiritual and geopolitical battle. Here's what has happened today. The Dalai Lama, who turns 90 on Sunday, has confirmed that he will be reincarnated after his death. In a video message played at a gathering in Dharamshala, he declared that the Gaden Phodrang Trust, a non-profit institution that he founded, will have the sole authority to identify his successor.
If it's about the Lama's reincarnation, when all the followers have unanimously said that the reincarnation should continue, then it is obvious that it will come. Since my 24th September 2011 statement, which states that responsibility for doing so will rest exclusively with members of the Gaden Phodrang Trust, the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, they should consult the various heads of the Tibetan Buddhist traditions and the reliable oath-bound Dharma protectors who are linked inseparably to the lineage of the Dalai Lamas. They should accordingly carry out the procedures of search and recognition in accordance with past tradition.
The gathering in Dharamshala was attended by over 100 monks, journalists from around the world and long-time supporters, including Hollywood actor Richard Gere. The Dalai Lama's statement directly challenges China's claim that it holds the right to approve the next Dalai Lama, and China has reacted swiftly. The Chinese Foreign Ministry reiterated that the Dalai Lama's successor must be approved by Beijing. It said that the reincarnation must happen in China through a centuries-old ritual involving a golden urn. And that's because Beijing views the Dalai Lama as a separatist. He fled Tibet and came to India in 1959 after a failed uprising against Chinese rule. The Dalai Lama has previously said his successor will be born outside China, and he urged followers to reject anyone chosen by Beijing, which then brings us to the Panchen Lama question. The Dalai Lama's announcement has renewed focus on a long-standing question: where is the Panchen Lama? And that's a question that we here on Gravitas have asked several times. In May 1995, the Dalai Lama named 6-year-old Gedun Choeki Nema as the 11th Panchen Lama. He is seen as a reincarnation of one of Tibetan Buddhism's most important spiritual figures. But just 3 days after he was named, Chinese authorities allegedly abducted him and his family, and they have not been seen for 30 years. China instead installed its own Panchen Lama, who has risen within Communist Party ranks. But the Tibetans in exile, they only see Gedun as the true Panchen Lama. Human Rights Watch has also, in fact, described his enforced disappearance as an attempt by China to control Tibetan Buddhism itself. As for how the Dalai Lama is traditionally chosen, traditionally, Tibetan Buddhists believe that when a Dalai Lama dies, he is reincarnated in the body of a child. The monks search for signs as well as test the child's ability to recognize belongings of his past life. The current Dalai Lama was identified in this way at just 2 years old. But China continued with its political interference in a sacred spiritual tradition. India is home to over 100,000 Tibetan Buddhists. The Dalai Lama's presence in India gives New Delhi diplomatic leverage over Beijing. And the United States has also stated that it will not allow China to influence the choice of the next Dalai Lama. In 2024, then President Joe Biden signed a law pressing Beijing to resolve disputes over Tibet's autonomy and human rights. But now the Dalai Lama has made it clear that his successor could be of any gender and will not necessarily be born in Tibet. The Gaden Phodrang Trust will oversee the identification process in consultation with Tibetan Buddhist leaders as well as Dharma protectors. And with this, the Dalai Lama has put China on notice. Our next story is about Iran and Israel. The 12-day conflict may be over, the guns may have fallen silent, and the ceasefire may be holding. But on the ground, tensions remain palpable. The two arch foes are preparing for the next battle, it seems. And right now, they are both racing to claim victory from the war, or in the war that has just ended. While Israel is putting out hard numbers, Iran is digging into its antiquities, taking pride in its pre-Islamic past. Just take a look at this billboard. A massive new billboard has come up at Imam Hussein Square in Shiraz, in Iran's Fars province, after what it calls Israel's failed 12-day war against Iran. And this billboard was unveiled with artwork depicting the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu bowing before Iran's ancient emperor. The artwork is inspired by one of the most iconic depictions in Persian history, the defeat and submission of the Roman Emperor Valerian before Shapur I in the Sasanian king, as carved into the rock relief at Nashke Rostam near Persepolis. In fact, the billboard message reads, I'm quoting, "Since the dawn of time, the pride of real men has brought the dishonorable to their knees," quote unquote. The picture of the billboard is now going viral. To understand just what this means, we just need to go back in history. They say that after the Battle of Odesa in 260 AD, Shapur I captured Emperor Valerian, marking one of Rome's greatest humiliations. The victory was immortalized in stone, Shapur on horseback while Valerian kneels, hands outstretched in submission. This scene is etched at Persepolis, Darab, Tange Chogan, all celebrating Persian power over Rome. And today, an Iranian artist recreated it. But the kneeling figure is not Valerian. It's Benjamin Netanyahu, wearing an armband with the Israeli flag. The background, by the way, remains the ancient stone relief, but the message is absolutely clear. Kneel before the Iranians, quote unquote. The Tehran Times describes it as the triumph of ancient Iran's civilization over its enemies. It also cites a Vahid Namazi, head of the Fars Art Bureau, saying, and I'm quoting now, there was a need to remind the West that Iran's strength lies not just in its weapons, but in its 3,000-year legacy, a nation of beliefs, traditions, and heritage. As you can see, Iran has taken to looking back at its rich history to claim victory over the prestige war against Israel. The billboard, remember, comes after Israel's 12-day assault on Iran, a campaign that targeted Iran's nuclear facilities and military commanders, leading to Iranian retaliation under Operation True Promise 3, which left large parts of Tel Aviv and other parts in ruins. But Israel is not far behind. Israel also is claiming victory, of course. Just have a look at what the IDF has posted on social media. Operation Rising Lion was historical. Here are the numbers to remember. And it has put out numbers of sorties undertaken, of missile launchers dismantled, and how it only allegedly took 15 minutes to do that. Now, in the end, who silenced whom? Who won the war? The answers remain unclear, but if history teaches us anything, it is this: wars end, but the pride that fuels them rarely does. And before we go any further, here's a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you how India's steel legacy is going global again. You do not want to miss this story. We get to the story of the fastest serve ever seen at Wimbledon at a whopping 246 kilometers per hour. That's coming up in just a bit. Russia's Oreshnik missile will now be deployed in Belarus. We tell you about the larger implications of this crucial move. All this and more coming up.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
On to Taiwan now. Is it ready to take on the ever-looming China aggression threat? It's no secret that in the last few months, China has been intensifying its military buildup near Taiwan, pushing Taiwan to ramp up its preparedness. Taiwan is to conduct its largest annual military exercise next week, in fact. For the first time, the drills will combine conventional war games and urban survival drills under unprecedented live-fire conditions. According to the Taiwanese Defense Ministry, the 41st Han Kuang exercise from July 9 to 18 would test joint operational readiness under, I'm quoting, unprecedented 10-day round-the-clock live-fire conditions. Now, this move comes in the wake of growing concerns there that Beijing could trigger a conflict requiring both military defense as well as civilian resilience. And the Taiwanese president also warned that the island was ready, facing China's war without gun smoke.
In fact, this is also strategic communication. While making our citizens aware of the capabilities and determination of our national army, we are also telling the other side that we have the confidence to defend our country. All our various combat capabilities rely on this exercise to deter the CCP from its position of wanting to invade.
And the preparations are extensive, by the way. The exercise spanning 10 days is slated to mobilize more than 22,000 reservists, a number that is both unprecedented in length as well as scale.
If the threat escalates and we find that the CCP has targeted military exercises, including live fire exercises or incursions into our 24 nautical miles zone, then we will issue an immediate backup exercise. Depending on the extent of the threat, the National Army will immediately transfer its existing strength to a state of readiness to respond to the increased threat.
And not just military exercises, civil defense drills will also reportedly be held across Taiwan. They will temporarily shut businesses and suspend traffic in major parts, including the capital. The urban drills would also feature air raid warnings, mass evacuations, and critical infrastructure protection across multiple parts. The aim of the drills is to simulate a full spectrum response to the war, from the initial non-military grey zone pressure to full attack, coastal landings, extended urban warfare, not just limited to physical weapons, but also cyber attacks, economic coercion, and disinformation campaigns. Beijing's threat against Taiwan has not escaped the Quad, which has taken swift cognizance of the matter in the meeting of foreign ministers in Washington. And in their joint statement, the Quad ministers have condemned Chinese aggression in the East China Sea and the South China Sea. The grouping also reiterated its strong opposition to the dangerous and provocative actions that threaten regional peace and stability. And for more on this developing story, we go to Dimitri Redraws in Taipei.
I can tell you the military and several civilian defense groups are preparing for this year's Hangguang exercises with a new approach designed to test the island's readiness. Starting July 9th, the 10-day exercise will reflect President Lai Ching-te's whole-of-society resilience strategy for the first time ever. Across the island, thousands of citizens will participate in air raid drills and evacuation procedures, with authorities imposing fines of up to $5,000 for non-compliance. These comprehensive exercises will unfold like a real conflict, beginning with cyber attacks and escalating to coastal invasions and urban warfare. When asked about these intensified preparations, military officials stated simply, "Only through readiness can we preserve peace." The timing is significant as China's military activities near Taiwan have intensified in recent days. Just yesterday, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense confirmed the presence of a Chinese tank carrier ship off northern Taiwan, along with 53 Chinese aircraft sorties and 37 crossing the median line into Taiwan's air defense zone. This is Dimitri Redraws in Taipei for TVBS World Taiwan.
The UK Chancellor just had a rather emotional moment, or rather several emotional moments throughout the day at the House of Commons. Reeves was seen wiping away a tear after a series of questions from the Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, who suggested that the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, had failed to confirm whether or not Reeves would stay in the post until the election, and Reeves appeared to look visibly upset and distraught even before the Prime Minister's questions started. During the entire 30-minute session, Badenoch said the Chancellor looked absolutely miserable and described her as a human shield. Take a look.
Mr. Speaker, she's pointing at me. She looks absolutely miserable. Yeah. Labour MPs, yeah, she looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, they can point as much as they like. The fact is, Labour MPs are going on the record saying that the Chancellor is toast, and the reality is that she is a human shield for his incompetence.
And refuting these rumors or other claims, 10 Downing Street was swift to weigh in, insisting that Reeves was not going anywhere and, in fact, had the Prime Minister's complete backing. And later, a spokesperson clarified, saying that Reeves had not offered her resignation, calling her emotionally charged moment a personal matter. However, there is definitely more than what meets the eye, it seems, with pressure building up on Reeves after the government reportedly managed to pass the welfare reform bill only after it removed measures that would have led to savings in the long run. And Reeves, on the other hand, has been blamed by some Labour members for the Parliament for pushing billions of pounds of savings that were described as cruel and targeting the most vulnerable. All this has put Reeves in a rather tricky spot, especially with Starmer withdrawing the proposed welfare cuts, a U-turn from the previous proposal, something that leaves her with some hard choices to make in the upcoming autumnal budget.
What we delivered last night was a bill which ends mandatory reassessment of those with severe disabilities. That is the right thing to do. It rebalances universal credit. That is long overdue, and it sets out a pathway to reform of PIP.
He's got some brass neck. Has he read the papers this morning? Has he read the papers this morning? That bill will achieve nothing. It is a pointless waste of time and is absolute proof that he doesn't have a plan.
Now, this incident in itself could indicate a lot of things. Perhaps Starmer's government alleged lack of confidence in Reeves led her to tearing up, or her just simply buckling under pressure and the grilling from the opposition. Whatever the reason might be, it's important to remember here that politicians are human beings as well, and they are allowed to have their moments of being vulnerable and have a moment on their own, warranting respect and also privacy. Shifting focus for now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a 5-nation tour to attend the BRICS summit in Brazil and bolster India's relationships with crucial global south countries. Commencing the first leg of the visit, Prime Minister Modi arrived in Ghana, where he received the Guard of Honor along with a 21-gun salute at the airport. He became the first Indian Prime Minister, in fact, to visit Ghana after 30 years. He also interacted with the Indian diaspora there. The trip, set to end on July 9, will be marking the Prime Minister's longest diplomatic visit in his decade-long premiership. Prime Minister Modi's 8-day tour will cover 2 continents, taking him to Trinidad and Tobago next, followed by Argentina, Brazil, Namibia. In Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister will hold talks with the President and the Prime Minister. He is also set to address a joint session of the island nation's parliament during his 2-day-long visit there. And on July 4, Prime Minister Modi will be visiting Argentina, where he will be engaging in comprehensive discussions with the President to bolster the India-Argentina partnership across various sectors, including defense, agriculture, mining, energy, trade. Next, Prime Minister Modi will be traveling to Brazil and attending the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. And there he will be addressing key global challenges, including governance reform, security, climate action, economic cooperation. During the summit, he is also expected to hold several bilateral meetings. And following the summit, Prime Minister Modi will be embarking on a state visit to Brasilia, where he will be discussing ways to strengthen India's strategic partnership with Brazil, with the President, focusing on areas like trade, defense, energy, space, technology, agriculture. And this visit marks Prime Minister Modi's 4th trip to Brazil as Prime Minister. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, will be concluding his tour with a visit to Namibia on July 9, marking the 3rd ever prime ministerial visit from India to the country, where he will be engaging in bilateral talks with the President and addressing the Parliament of Namibia. India continues to enhance its strategic ties with the United States. The Defense Minister, Rajnath Singh, held a phone conversation with the US Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, where both the leaders pushed forward military cooperation between the two sides. They reviewed the roadmap for long-term defense collaboration, covering joint training, military exchanges, and deeper engagement between the defense industries. According to sources, India raised concerns over the delayed delivery of the G404 jet engines for the Tejas Mark 1A fighters. These American engines are important for powering India's indigenous aircraft, and this delivery has been delayed for over 2 years due to contractual obligations. India's defense minister also thanked the US for its support to India in its fight against terrorism. Hexet, meanwhile, extended a formal invitation to Rajnath Singh to visit the United States and continue bilateral defense discussions face to face. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also met Hexet at the Pentagon. Hexet highlighted the integration of US defense systems into India's armed forces. India already operates an array of American military equipment. In fact, this includes the MQ-9B drones, as well as Apache and also the C-17 Globemasters and maritime surveillance aircraft. But while New Delhi augments its defense ties with the United States, it seems Islamabad has to settle for just photo ops and potential warnings. Let's tell you what this is about. Just weeks ago, US President Donald Trump hosted Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir at the White House for lunch. And that symbolic lunch came as Pakistan publicly backed Iran and criticized Israel, only to later cozy up with Washington, Israel's closest ally. Shifting focus, the NATO just concluded a summit where they decided to give a massive boost to their defense spending, which means more jets, more tanks, more weapons. And now it seems Moscow has given its first response. Putin has unveiled its most dangerous weapon yet, and it's already being mass-produced. The hypersonic Oreshnik missile will now be deployed in Belarus. Our next story takes a closer look at how Moscow's lightning-fast strike capability is, in a way, reshaping the continent's balance of power.
Russia has just dropped a bombshell, not on the battlefield, but on the geopolitical chessboard. Moscow could be deploying its most modern, nuclear-capable hypersonic missile in Belarus. The Oreshnik, dubbed as Russia's most dangerous missile, isn't just another warhead on a launcher. It is a next-generation hypersonic nuclear-capable menace designed to pierce any Western defense system. Moscow claims the missile, which means hazel tree in Russian, is capable of Mach 10 speeds and near zero intercept probability. Equipped with multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, it's the stuff of NATO's worst nightmares. Vladimir Putin has announced the mass production of the Oreshnik missile system, a strategic nuclear game-changer now stationed alarmingly close to NATO's eastern front.
We will pay special attention to our nuclear triad. Thus, modern YARS systems will be delivered to the strategic missile forces. The aviation component of the strategic nuclear forces will be replenished with modernized Tu-160M missile carriers this year. In addition, serial production of the latest medium-range missile system Oreshnik, which has proven itself very well in combat conditions, is being launched.
Flying at speeds of 12,300 kilometers per hour, it is stealthy and maneuverable, making it almost unstoppable. The massive range of over 5,000 kilometers puts several European capitals in its range, from London to Paris. This missile can reach within minutes when launched from Belarus. The Oreshnik, first unleashed in a combat debut against a defense plant in Dnipro, Ukraine, delivered a brutal demonstration of its destructive potential. Belarus, already hosting Russian tactical nuclear weapons, now becomes a critical forward operating base for a system designed to penetrate deep into Western Europe within minutes. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
We now tell you how India's tea legacy is going global again. Lakshmi Group, the heritage tea company, has picked up a majority stake in UK-based Brew Tea Company, a premium tea brand known for its whole leaf offerings. And while the financial terms remain under wraps, the strategic move is all about building a global farm-to-cup supply chain. The group, which grows over 30 million kg of tea annually across estates in Assam, Darjeeling, even Rwanda, will now supply its artisanal hand-rolled teas directly to Brew Tea Company's customer base, including nearly 10,000 UK households subscribed to the brand. For consumers, this deal brings several promising shifts. First, greater traceability. Tea drinkers can expect more transparency about where their leaves are grown and how they are harvested and who is behind them. Second, better quality. Unlike the industrial crushed tear curl tea used in most mass market bags, a whole leaf tea retains flavor, aroma, complexity. And this partnership helps scale access to such quality tea in global markets and could nudge Indian consumers towards rediscovering their own legacy of real tea. And the timing here is also symbolic, as India marks 200 years since tea cultivation started in Assam. This cross-continental partnership basically reconnects Indian growers with discerning drinkers abroad who value craftsmanship over convenience in a way. In short, a brew once known for convenient bags is making a bold comeback, hand-rolled, whole leaf, high-end, a win for growers, global drinkers, and anyone who prefers their tea with a side of story. And our next story is about a perfume, but no ordinary one. In his latest move, the US President Donald Trump has launched a luxury perfume. It's priced at $249. In fact, it joins a growing list of Trump-branded consumer products, from sneakers to even smartphones, under the venture called Trump Mobile. Last month, Trump disclosed more than $600 million in income from real estate, branding, crypto, other ventures, sparking fresh criticism over the monetization of his presidency in a way. Trump's business dealings going far beyond just retail products. His two crypto tokens, Dollar Trump and Dollar Melania, generated close to $100 million in trading fees within 2 weeks of launch. And Trump also owns a 60% stake in a crypto platform called World Liberty Financial. In real estate, his Mar-a-Lago resort earned an estimated $24 million last year. $24 million. His company is exploring deals for Trump-branded towers in Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Oman. Recently secured a $1.5 billion project in Vietnam. Watchdog groups are sounding alarm over potential conflict of interest, and Trump has promised to distance himself from business decisions, as he did during his first term. But ethics experts are arguing the safeguards remain insufficient. Trump's media platform, Truth Social, is publicly listed, with him holding more than 50% of the shares. Critics say such entanglements risk distorting public policy for private gain. We live in an age where technology promises to solve some of our biggest problems, even those impacting our mental well-being. But as we look ahead, a vital question still remains. Is turning to a large language model for therapy a dangerous gamble? New research suggests it might just be. According to a Stanford University study, chatbots reportedly endanger users dealing with suicidal thoughts and delusions. Researchers have issued a warning, stating that large language models like ChatGPT often make inappropriate and dangerous statements to people experiencing delusions, suicidal ideation, hallucinations. Artificial intelligence as a therapeutic tool is not new, by the way. Back in 1966, an MIT professor created the very first chatbot. It was designed to mimic a psychotherapist. Yet the scientist behind it was also incredibly clear. We must never confuse computers with human beings. And fast forward to 2025, the distinction between AI and reality, between what's real and what's not, seems to have been significantly blurred. Today, people are turning to AI not just for work, but also for help with their mental health issues. According to a report published in JMIR Mental Health, around 60% of chatbot users admitted to experimenting with AI for mental health issues. And of those, about 50% believe it can be beneficial. Unlike traditional therapy, which can be costly and sometimes inaccessible as well, AI is immediate, it's affordable and available round the clock, especially for those in remote areas or on tight budgets. But does that mean that AI can actually replace human therapists? The answer is not yet. Even the most advanced AI tools fall short of deep human empathy after all, complex diagnosis, the ability to catch subtle emotional cues. AI may sometimes miss warning signs, reinforce harmful beliefs, or be manipulated into giving unsafe advice. In fact, in the year 2024, a 14-year-old boy in Florida tragically took his own life after reportedly falling in love with an AI chatbot. In Belgium, a man ended his life after a chatbot allegedly encouraged him to sacrifice himself to combat climate change. These are not just isolated headlines, they are critical alarms. Stanford researchers discovered that large language models like ChatGPT made inappropriate and sometimes even harmful statements in about 20% of interactions with individuals suffering from delusions, suicidal thoughts, and OCD. Researchers believe the reason could be the fact that these AI models are designed for compliance, which is why these models flatter and agree with the users rather than offering the challenging or critical perspective sometimes necessary in therapy. Last month, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, had to roll back an update that made the platform noticeably more sycophantic. OpenAI admitted that ChatGPT was unintentionally validating doubts, fueling anger, and even encouraging impulsive actions. And while AI promises a revolution, it's clear that genuine human connection is something that AI cannot provide. So if you are suffering from any mental issue or concern, maybe going to an actual human therapist will be the best option. And for those thinking about career paths, perhaps therapy is one field that's truly AI-proof. If you blinked, you probably would have missed it. Pericard has unleashed the fastest serve ever seen at Wimbledon, clocking a whiplashing 246 kilometers per hour. And when you stick that against the fastest move in sport, it's right up there with the elite and the best. He stands tall, 6'8", and serves even taller. And here's the twist, he did not even win the point. His record-breaking serve was returned by Taylor Fritz. Yet over the match, he still blasted 37 aces, proving that the heat is real. And to just put this into perspective, it's faster than a Formula One pit lane speed limit. In baseball, the fastest pitch ever recorded came from Aroldis Chapman. It was 170.3 kilometers per hour. Cricket's quickest delivery, Pakistan's Shoaib Akhtar, the Rawalpindi Express, hurled one at 100.2 miles per hour or 161.3 kilometers per hour at the 2003 World Cup. In football, Ronnie Heberson's legendary strike for Sporting Lisbon reached just under 212 kilometers per hour. Impressive numbers, but Pericard's serve blew past them all. But when it comes to tennis serves, the official record still belongs to John Isner, who hit 253 kilometers per hour back in 2016. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching, leaving you with Gravitas Worldview.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Welcome back to WION World is One. We are glad you're watching. Thank you for staying with us. Time now for Pulse. The headlines. Prime Minister Modi gets a warm welcome from Indian diaspora in Ghana. The first leg of his 5-nation, 8-day global tour. This is the first Indian prime ministerial visit to Ghana in 3 decades.